All right, go.
Hello everyone. My name is Brahim. I hope everyone is doing great. So today I will be presenting goal number 12. Here is an interesting topic. It is about sustainable consumption and production. So first we have the introduction. So what is sustainable consumption and production? It is how we can reach a country demand, or how we can have a better quality of life, at the same time minimizing the pollution and all the other bad consequences by reaching the final demand of a country. Also working on not jeopardize resources for our future and generation to come. Like we have seen in one of the previous presentation, Costa Rica right now is doing a great job on working with clean energy. Electronic waste is also growing by 38%. In the US, less than 20% is recycled between 2010 to 2019. The government should seriously consider recycling. I will talk about that later. Food waste in supply chain is high. I will also talk about it later. Global material footprint has increased in the last decade. We consume a lot of fossil fuel. The demand is increasing a lot. Also, fossil fuel subsidies are rising in the US. It grows from $318 billion from 2015 to $427 billion in 2018. That means government is supporting oil and gas companies, and we are not in track to fight against global warming. Let's talk first about electronic waste. So what's electronic waste first? It's electronic products that are unwanted, not working anymore, or at the end of their useful life. Electronic waste is toxic, and government should really consider recycling about it. When electronic waste is thrown away in landfills, their toxic materials seep into groundwater, affecting both land and sea animals. It also leads to many dangerous human health as kidney and blood problem. Toxic chemicals are released in the atmosphere when they are warmed up. It creates air pollution. Only 10% of cell phones are recycled in the US, and most Americans get new cell phone every 12 to 18 months. So as we see in the graph, China and US are leading the gap. Are leading. The gap is large between them and Japan, India, and Germany. I think they are the one who should be responsible the most for electronic waste. And also, this is according to the global electronic waste back in 2017. So let's talk about food loss and waste. There are two main kinds of wasted food: the food loss and food waste. So food loss is a bigger category, and it consists of any type of food that goes uneaten or unused. It is not only happening in homes or stores. This includes crops left in the field, food that's spoiled in transportation, and all other food that doesn't make it to a store. And what's food waste? It is defined by the US Department of Agriculture. It is as food thrown away by retailers due to color or appearance, or waste in general. For example, meal left on the plate at a restaurant, food scraps from preparing a meal at home, or even the sour milk left for a month in the refrigerator at home. This is all considered as food waste. So according to Pew Research Center, approximately 32 billion pounds of food a year are wasted in American fast food alone. The US food is 15.7% energy of the total energy budget, 50% of all land, and 80% of all fresh water, but yet, unfortunately, 20 billion pounds of food produced is lost on farms every year. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic affected many closures of businesses where we encounter many wasted food across the country and even globally. So as we see in the picture, food waste alone causes 10% of greenhouse gases, and this is according to the United Nations. So imagine if we could have managed this issue. We could have gave all that food to poor families in Africa, Asia, South America, and I think that will help the sustainable development goal for ending hunger. Let's talk about lifestyle. So why are we consuming that much? So we are known, as human beings are responsible for most of our environmental problem. We've seen natural disasters have increased, temperature is rising, sea level is rising, air quality is getting bad. Yet, if not everyone, we find ourselves engaging in behavior that have negative environmental impact. Everyone has his or her needs, and we differentiate, probably due to culture, how each one of us was raised, or influenced by something. Our consumption and the way we act depends on our self-identity. So what is self-identity? It is a recognition of one's potential and qualities as an individual. We are getting influenced easily these days. It can be from our friends, family, or social media. And it depends highly on marketing, I believe. Our budget is an option as well. I think having more money lead to consume more most of the time. For example, check the picture, check the graph. According to Oxfam, richer people consume more, which leads to more carbon emission. And even I consider myself sometimes when I have a good saving, I sometimes spend a lot of money on shopping. So I think the way we consume adds a lot to global warming. That brings me to my first question. Is it the government who should recycle more and lower our waste, or is it our lifestyle in the marketing world that leading us to consume more? Or are both needed? How can we change the way we are consuming in order to not jeopardize resources for our future and generation to come? So now I'm going to talk about sustainable production. So what is sustainable production? It is a creation of goods and services using processes and systems that are non-polluting. Products should be safe and helpful for workers, communities, and consumers. Everyone should benefit from a product at a reasonable price. Products should be used only for necessities and not excessively. Sustainable production values long-term consequences and benefits over short-term profits. As we see in the graph, I think if a company asks themselves those questions before creating a product and respectfully apply them on their product, I think we can have a better future. So let's talk about clean energy. I'm going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of clean energy. So solar pollution is far less damaging to the environment than fossil fuel. The amount of sunlight entering the earth is free. Hydroelectric energy uses running water without reducing its quantity to produce electricity. Also, hydroelectric plant doesn't release pollutants into the air. It improves the air we breathe, actually. Wind energy doesn't pollute the air like power plants. It is a clean source. All of them are free, renewable resource. Economic value, they have a good economic value in the long term and low maintenance cost. Also, the good news is that electric bills will drop for everybody. I'm going to talk about the disadvantages. Solar energy takes a lot of space, as you have seen on the pictures. The initial cost of processing a solar system is high, and even for the wind energy. The efficiency of the solar system drops during cloudy and rainy days. Solar panels are highly dependent on sunlight, and hydroelectric energy depends on precipitation levels, which can fluctuate from year to year, causing instability. Also, the only pollution hydro energy makes, it happened during their construction. And as I said, constructing turbines and wind facilities is expensive. But okay, that might be the worst disadvantages I have seen for clean energy. It is nothing you can compare with how bad fossil fuel is. So as we see in the graph, according to Bloomberg, how can the world electricity will depend on clean energy in the future, and more than fossil fuel in the upcoming year. But let's not forget, this graph is only electricity, not energy. For example, airplanes and cars highly depends or mostly depend on oil. So how to reduce our consumption of fossil fuel and other materials? Ensure that people everywhere have the education and awareness for sustainable development and lifestyle in harmony with nature. Implement program on sustainable consumption and production. All countries acting, with developed countries taking the lead, like we have seen in the Paris Agreement. Invest more on clean energy until we fully rely on them in the long term. That brings me to my second question. What should it take for the government to make companies to shift to sustainable production? Give me an example of a company that, for example, if they make the shift, it will be a great impact against global warming, and explain. So, COVID-19 effect. Before talking about COVID-19 effect, because this have a lot to do with US and China. So I would like to talk about US-China trade war a little bit. So after China entered the WTO, World Trade Organization, their economy was dramatically rising. America claimed that China's growth was unfair, and they were stealing information. Trump administration started using tariffs on important goods to force China to play by the rule. America imposed 25% tariffs on Chinese goods, then China did exactly the same on the US good as time goes. Tension between China and the US is a real deal. So according to the economists on the video, negative implications. A post-pandemic might create more geopolitical conflicts and injustice due highly to economic difficulties and economic disruption. The US will be worrying about China rising power right now. This might create more tension. China has eased the lockdown by the end of February, the beginning of the year, by the end of February and March. They have not recovered 100%, but their economy is running at a good capacity. And among major economies, it is leading now. US and China are both in a speed pursuit for being the number one in the economy globally. And also many countries was manufacturing in China due to cheap labor. Nowadays, China is getting more expensive to manufacture. And according to the economists, the positive implication. Good thing about the pandemic is that it has been good for the climate. Carbon dioxide has been less in the atmosphere due to the lockdown, less airplanes, less traveling, less car moving, which was a good thing. And countries, for example, countries of the Middle East, Russia and even Venezuela. Their economies depend highly on oil and gas. It's their main source of foreign exchange. So since the oil price might not recover for a long time, they might think of a future without oil. I will talk about fossil fuel subsidies, but I'll get back to the COVID-19 effect and my last question. So what is subsidies? I would like to, the definition of subsidies is it is a sum of money granted by government to assist an industry or business so that the price of a commodity or service may remain low or competitive. Government subsidies are meant to help a specific business. For the government, adding fund to fossil fuel subsidies, that means we are supporting oil and gas companies. According to International Monetary Fund, they show that by removing fossil fuel subsidies, we can reduce global carbon emission by up to 13%. According to CNN, Europe's stronger social safety net, including cheaper healthcare and higher education, is paid for partly through gas taxes. European countries taxes gas heavily, while the US subsidizes gas. As you see in the graph, European countries have more expensive gas than the US. Let's see, for example, Norway, Netherlands, Italy, and the US at 0.76. It's like almost double the price almost. So this will promote more public transportation where people will share a bus or a train rather than each one of us commuting by car alone, which lead to more carbon emission. That brings me to my last question. So since removing those subsidies might not be enough and might cause us a switch to more emission of coal, maybe. The best solution might be for those exporting countries to reduce their fossil fuel subsidies, where fewer poor people will be affected. Due to the pandemic, we are currently experiencing low oil prices, and that can help the exporting countries remove the subsidies for gas. And according to The Economist, due to the pandemic, it is hard now to invest on projects. And don't forget, the US-China trade war is getting bad, and tension is getting higher. Do you think it's the right time for the US to lower the fossil fuel subsidies to fight the global warming, or should exporting countries lower their subsidies? What will be the best option to fight against global warming? What will be the positive and negative consequences of the option you chose? And also, I post a video where you can understand better, hopefully. So this is a question: how does Coca-Cola integrate sustainability into their operation? Coca-Cola bottling company in Canada started to embrace the corporate responsibility and sustainability as CRS. It's a goal. They call it Commitment 2020. So Coca-Cola bottling company recognized the need to interconnect between sustainable communities and sustainable business. They integrated this strategy into the corporate governance and global operating framework of the company, meaning that social and environmental risk is now considered as one of the company enterprise risk management process. It became a part of the business decision making. The CRS consists of reducing the overall carbon emission, minimize the use of water, and safely returning the amount of water to the local communities and the environment. Reduce the impact of packaging, and promote recycling. Provide refreshing beverage for every lifestyle and occasion, and improve the quality of the workplace where everyone is valued. CRS program is saving the company money, maintaining profitability during economic downturns, and protecting jobs and the environment. It is a really good initiative, and from Coca-Cola, it will highly impact the environment. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.